Part 4 of why we talk about perfume notes in the way we do, and we've got to W.A. Pucher's 1955 paper, and part 3 talked about the setup of the experimental method. So he put a controlled amount of substances on exactly the same sticks of paper, and he kept them in laboratory conditions at the same temperature and pressure, and then he sniffed them. But he had to have a scale. So he started off by playing with things, and then found the things which were the longest lasting, and they were oak moss and patchouli. He gave them a score of 100. At the other end, he had substances where the smell went away in under a day. Those he gave a score of 1. Then everything else sat between 1 and 100. So he dabbed, he sniffed, he returned the next day, he sniffed, and then there was some which he wasn't sure about, so he repeated this and repeated this for 4 years. What he then did was just split these things into 3 groups, almost in an arbitrary way. He said that those which had, as he said, coefficients of 1 to 14, he called top notes. Those which were from 15 to 60, he called middle notes. And then, interestingly, those from 61 to 100, he actually called basic notes or fixers, not base notes, which is quite fascinating, the way it's kind of changed over time to base notes from basic notes. So that was it. It was W.A. Pucher, like, sitting down, and in the paper you can see the full list of things that he looked at, and he just made these relatively arbitrary divisions. But I guess as a working professional chemist and maker of perfumes, he also brought his instinct and his self to this, and I think was thinking about the way that these things are practically used, because it's a very practical paper that he had. It's how can these be used by people who want to make perfumes, and he then talks about, in the end of the paper, how you can synthesize various smells using things from these different groups and bringing them and putting together. There you go. So it was in 4 parts, but I thought, you'd like the detail. On the YouTube and the Instagram version of this, I've got links to all the papers that I've referenced. So if you really want to, you can read the full paper. And it's a great read. And so are the other ones, the more historical ones as well. I know some of the ones I've done on perfume words have been quite interesting, but let me know if you want some of these more extended things on histories.